Are you afraid to let love in? Are you afraid to open your heart? Do you have walls up for fear of getting hurt? For fear of rejection? For fear of abandonment? Do you think it's safer for you to keep closed because you can't get hurt that way? Well, the thing is, if we close our hearts, we're not just closing our hearts to romantic love, we're closing our hearts to our love for self, our love for this world, and our love for everything in it. We're closing our hearts to everything because everything revolves around love. When we live with an open heart, we live in abundance, we live in prosperity, we live in happiness. But when we remain closed, we cannot accept love of any form into our lives. We cannot accept abundance into our lives. We are incapable of receiving as well as giving if we keep our heart closed. My name is Angela Cleary. I'm a feminine empowerment coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. The secret to life, the only secret we really have to life, is love. Love for self and love for everything we have and everything around us. We're so determined to keep ourselves safe. We're so afraid of being hurt. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of a lot of things. And that's the reason because of that is because our hearts are closed. We close our hearts due to past trauma, due to past loves not working out, due to childhood trauma. And we're afraid to let those walls down again because we're afraid of pain again. But we can't live life with a closed heart because everything revolves around the receptivity of love, the giving of love. When we have a closed heart, we can't receive. And it's not just about romantic love. It's about your connection to yourself, your connection to this world, and your connection to your life. If we have a closed heart, we can't accept anything into our lives and life will stay and remain stuck. Manifestation happens very easily when we live in love. Manifestation happens instantly when we have an open heart. And that is it. When we're with a closed heart, this blocks so much from coming into our lives. And as I said, it's not just romantic love. When we live with a closed heart, we're blocking everything because we're sending out this energy that we don't want anyone in our circle. We don't want anyone in our boundaries. We don't want anything. And that's what we're saying. Because we think, right, we're closing our hearts because we're afraid to let romantic love in. Because we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of abandonment. We think that that's it. We're just closed our heart. We know we've walls up. We're closed off when it comes to romantic love. But having our heart closed just for love is actually closing our hearts to everything else. When our hearts are closed, we lose our connection to ourselves. We lose our connection to divine, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. We lose our connection to life. When we have a closed heart, we can't receive. We can't receive anything. So, you're trying to manifest life and you're determined, that you're going to manifest the life of your dreams. But unless you live in love, you cannot really manifest. You can still manifest, but it's just slower. And I've noticed this, when I've had closed heart, life is fearful. Life is scary. Life is slower. I still manifest, but things don't come as easily as normal because I'm in fear. And that's the thing. The ego tries to keep us safe by keeping our walls up. We think that if we don't let our walls down, if we don't let people in, that we're safe, that we can't get hurt again, that the past won't repeat itself. But the past's not going to repeat itself because you've grown anyway. But this energy, you're sending this energy out to the universe that you don't want anything, that you don't even, you don't want to receive anything because with the walls up, you're blocked. Your heart is blocked from receiving anything in your life. And that comes to opportunities and abundance, your career, everything. And you have to kind of question, is it easier to stay with a closed heart? Because, for a long time, I questioned, did I really want to open my heart again? Now, I'm a giver. I've always given love. But I've never been good at receiving. And I have actually questioned, is it not safer to stay in my box? Is it not safer to stay behind these walls? Is it not safer to not move, in a sense? And this comes to anything. This comes to taking risks or opportunities in my life as well. This comes to taking those leaps of faith. We're kind of like, nah, it's safer here. It's safer to stay closed. It's safer if I don't leap. It's safer if I don't open my heart, because then I can't be hurt. But I've come to realize that the more closed off I am, the more closed off I am to everything. And I've disconnected from my own soul because of a closed heart. I've disconnected from God and the universe because of my closed heart. I've disconnected from manifestation because of my closed heart. My closed heart had me in a very fearful energy. Now, this is due to past trauma. And I had a massive a couple of years where I had to, I've always had like a semi-open heart, as we'll call it. But because of my trauma over the last few years, I literally put up steel doors and I closed off more completely than I ever did. I had a fear-based entity attached to me. I was living in a constant state of fear. It's after taking me well over a year to nurture myself and heal myself through that. And now I'm receptive again. But it took me a long time. And because I went so far back into that closed off energy, I really questioned whether or not I was willing to come back out again. Because of all the pain that we've endured, because of losing people, friends, family members, on our spiritual journey, we outgrow an awful lot of situations and environments. So this can lead us to and obviously due to past traumatic romantic relationships, this leads us to question, is it safe to let anything in again? Is it safe to let anything in again? And what I mean by this, I actually for a long time was afraid to get excited again. I actually, every time, if I did start to get excited for something again, I'd reprimand myself. I'd be like, just don't do that. Don't do that. Because, if you get excited and then it goes away, you're fucked, like. And this is genuinely my feelings until I opened my heart again. And it was just like, I actually, the dread, the fear, the anxiety that came over me if I got excited for something, because I was just like, what if it fails? What if it doesn't work out? And when we're going through this healing, when we're in this closed heart energy, we do question all that. We question, is it safe out there? Is it safe to do anything? Is it safe to leave my comfort zone? Is it safe to allow friends in? Is it safe to meet new people? Is it safe to speak to somebody? Is it safe to be vulnerable? And that's what it is. Is it safe to be vulnerable? Because when we live with an open heart, where we are vulnerable, we're showing ourselves to the world. But because of this, we can accept in so much. We can receive. Our lives become abundant because of love. The spiritual journey and twin flame journey, the whole idea of it, the main objective is to shed the karma, shed the trauma of your past and past lives, and come to a place of unconditional love within yourself. That's where the magic happens. And when you find love within yourself, you find it radiates out of you. You literally are an embodiment of love, and everything around you turns to love. Everything you look at turns to love. Everything you encounter turns to love. And you live with this glow about you, but it's a receptive energy. You're living with this arms open saying, I'm ready for this, because you're ready to receive. You're ready to receive that magic. So back to the question, is it safe or not to stay in my box? No, it's not, because the phrase, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And once again, I'm not just speaking of romantic love. I mean everything. Isn't it better to briefly encounter a person who makes you smile just for 2 seconds? Isn't it beautiful to look at that flower, to look at that animal just for 2 seconds? Isn't it amazing to feel that love, even if it is for a moment, and then it's gone? Isn't it so much better to have experienced that than to have not experienced it? Is it better to stay in your box where it's grey, it's dull, it's lonely, it's depressing, it's sad? Or is it better to keep your heart open and be surrounded by rainbows, sunshine, happiness, colour, abundance, prosperity? And that's what it is. You know, we are so scared of pain. We're so scared of trauma. We're so scared of being rejected. We're so scared to fail. But why are we so scared? The past is not going to repeat itself. We're after growing and evolving out of that. And that's the thing, what I realised the other day. I had this kind of epiphany. It was just like, I should have known this all along anyway. I'm afraid, a part of me is so scared to let love into my life, right? I'm afraid to let that wall down. Like I'm so receptive when it comes to abundance, love, the love for everything, love for myself. I have that love within me. For my friends, for my dog, for all of it. You know, I have love within me. I'm open to love. But I still have this block when it comes to romantic love. And I realized the other day, I was so scared to trust somebody again. So scared to let somebody in again. So scared to be vulnerable with somebody again. Because of my previous relationships. But my last relationship was 6 years ago, right? And just actually it's longer than that. But I'm not the same person I was before that relationship. I'm not the same person I was when that relationship ended. But what I'm saying is we cannot be the same version of ourselves twice. Because we're evolving. So we can't invite in the same shit that we invited in our past. It's just not possible. And this isn't just about romantic love again. It's about anything. We're not the same people we were back then. We're not actually going to repeat that energy because we've evolved and grown into the best version of ourselves. So what we attract in is going to be completely different to that. But who we are is stronger. We're afraid to lose ourselves again by opening our hearts. We're afraid to repeat or feel the way we did in the past. But that's not possible. We cannot actually feel that way again because that version of us does not exist. So our fear of the past repeating itself is why we're not opening. Our fear of feeling that way again, of losing ourselves again, is why we're not opening. But we cannot repeat that shit because that person doesn't exist. You know, when I sat here thinking, and I was like, oh my God, the girl I was when I got into those toxic relationships, the girl I was after those relationships, she does not exist. She doesn't. And she can never exist again because I won't let that happen to me. You know what I mean? And that made me kind of go, it kind of dropped a weight off me because I was like, I'm afraid of something that can't happen. And this is the thing. We're afraid to open our hearts because of the past. We're afraid of the past repeating. But it actually cannot repeat. It just can't. So this makes me even more receptive because, like, you know, it's better to open. It's better to live in that open heart energy because it's scarier, it's lonelier, and it's darker to live with that closed heart. Manifestation is slower as well. And that's the thing, like, when we're closed to romantic love, we're closed to every kind of love. We're closed to every kind of opportunity. We're closed to abundance. We're closed to prosperity. We're closed to adventure. So this is why it starts with us. Open your heart to yourself. Open your heart to you. Because when you start to live in love for yourself, everything around you turns to love. And that's the beauty of it. Like, it all starts within. When you radiate love for yourself and radiate from within, it's like everything turns to gold. That, you know, that it's just, everything is beautiful. Everything becomes more enhanced. And you know, I was watching the Twilight series. Again, this is the second time watching it, and I binge watched it again. Love it. But when Bella turns into a vampire, like, to me, that was likened to spiritual awakening and to finding love within yourself, because her senses were heightened. She saw things. It was like she saw things for the first time. And I was just like, that's what it's like to live for love within yourself. It's like you see the world as if it's your first time, because you start to see it with different eyes. You start to see it for the beautiful thing that it is. Even the smallest thing, like a snowflake, or, you know, the ice on plants or stuff like that. You know, everything turns beautiful. And that's why it's so important to open our hearts, because everything turns to love. Everything turns beautiful. You know, you're always kind of in this happy energy because everything you see is magic. Everything you see is full of love, and everything you see is a rainbow. It's colourful. So, and this is when life starts flowing. Life gets an awful lot easier when we live in love. Life gets, it's smooth sailing. That's what it is. Smooth sailing, no turbulence when you live in love. When you live with those eyes of love for yourself, for the world, and for everything around you. When you open your heart to receive, this is when the magic flows in. This is when life gets easier. And that's the thing, we think it's easier to stay in our box. We think it's easier to stay closed off. But that life is painful. And that life is turbulent. Whereas when we live in love, life gets smoother. Life gets easier. And life just flows more easily. Things flow into your life effortlessly. And things just become more magical. Things become more abundant. We can't manifest instantly with a closed heart. And that's, I've noticed this myself. The more open I am, the more receiving I am, the more easy that manifestation happens. The more that the stuff that you desire will flow into your life. But when you live with a closed heart, all your desires seem to be so far away. They seem unreachable. They seem impossible. But when you live in love, nothing is impossible. I am possible when we live in love. And that's a fact. So open your heart. Don't be afraid to let love in. Let that magic flow and live in abundance. Let your heart receive what you deserve. Then that love will come in, that magical, romantic love as well. But when you start with you, when you love yourself, you're not seeking outside for love. And that's when it comes anyway, if you get me. When you're not actually seeking outside yourself, when you radiate love from within and live in love, love just magnetizes towards you in all forms. And that's the beauty of it. Every single thing has an energy of love. And when we live with the energy of love, things just magnetize towards us. Life becomes effortless. Life becomes easy. But life becomes magical. And that's beautiful. You know, so work on what's inside. Heal your heart. Heal your inner child and start to love yourself. Because that's when life becomes easier. And then you will see love in all its forms. So thank you so much for listening today, and I really hope this resonates. If it does, please like and share, and please subscribe to my channel so I can reach as many people as possible. And if you would like help on your journey, please book me for a discovery call today, and I would love nothing more than to help you on your path.